Okay, cover letters. I got quite a few people asking me about cover letters. What should you do? What should be in them? What format they should take? This kind of thing. So I wanted to do this episode where we answer that. Very, very briefly, okay? Cover letters are kind of a throwback to a different time where the idea was if you were sending in a job application, usually you actually mailed an envelope, right? Or an envelope, depending on your point of view, which contained your resume, other documents, maybe references, things like this. And the problem was that this would arrive at the employer, and usually it would go to a specific person, right? But when they opened an envelope and it just had a resume inside, they wouldn't know what the hell is this. So you would send an accompanying letter, that would be your cover letter, to explain what the hell this is, right? You would explain basic stuff like, hello, I'm applying for this particular job, and you should have received enclosed my resume and my references and maybe other documents, so make sure you have those. This is the person who's sending it to you. This is the date, and I look forward to receiving a call back from you or whatever you're hoping to get, whatever the outcome is, the goal. And if you have any questions, let me know, right? That was the original idea of the cover letter. So it explained the mail out that they had received, what it's for, who's it from, and what you're expecting in return. And it would include more detailed contact information and things like this. Very mechanical, type of thing, right? It wasn't really used specifically in consideration of you as a candidate, right? It was just simply a mechanical thing to explain what the hell is going on with this mail out I've received, right? So that was the cover letter. And that's what they were used for. Now, we went through a period of time where, the internet came about and people started posting jobs online and people started applying online. And the thing that kind of replaced the cover letter, if you were applying for a job online, usually a lot of those online applications would take the form of an email, right? Now, I know you can apply directly through a website. You could fill in, forms in your web browser, right? But if you were applying over email, which was sort of the simplest and most direct version of an online job application, a recruiter or someone posts their email address and you send the application to them, you would send an email. And the body of the email would be your cover letter. It explains, hello, my name is X, and I'm sending you this for this purpose. I'm applying for this job. And, I saw this job posted in this place online on this date. And so I'm responding to that. Please find attached my resume and my references and, maybe a job application form that you guys wanted completed, right? So you should have received those as attachments to this email. And here's my contact information. I'm hoping that you will decide to interview me. And if you have any further questions, please let me know, right? So that was the sort of version of what the cover letter evolved into in its original purpose, right? So that's what the cover letter is. And it wasn't this big long thing that, took up 3 pages. It was just very, very matter of fact, very short, maybe about 3 or 4 sentences to explain the email. And that's it, right? So that's the cover letter. Now, in this day and age, when you're asked to supply a cover letter, it gets a little more complicated because people want other things in the cover letter, and it's gone beyond its original intended purpose when it was like an actual letter that you put in an envelope with your application, right? So that's what we're mainly here to talk about today, because I know that most people are not applying for jobs over snail mail. That's kind of mostly a thing of the past. Okay, so the biggest question I've received is, what should I put in my cover letter and how do you do this? And can you use ChatGPT? Of course you can. And we're going to get into that. I actually didn't include that in my notes, but yeah, we should talk about ChatGPT. Okay, very simply, here are 7 things that I recommend you put in your cover letter. Some of them are very mundane. First of all, you should have the date in there. If you're sending it in the form of an email, the date will be included anyway, so you don't have to actually write that in, okay? But just so someone knows when this is from, okay? So you should have the date. You should have a greeting, dear whoever, right? What would be a good name? Dear Mork, right? Mork, Sven, Knut, Olafsson, right? If you're applying for a job in Norway, something like that. So dear whoever, and then you include the recipient's name and email, right? Okay. So everybody's clear about who this is for. Okay. This is important because if it goes to a company or an organization, it may go to a mailbox, or, you never really know where it goes and may be filtered. So it's good to say explicitly who this is for, and then there's no doubt, right? Okay, so that's 1 and 2. 1 is the date, 2 is the greeting, like dear Nate, Mork, whatever your name happens to be, right? Aloysius, right? Number 3 would be you have to explain that you're applying for the position you're applying for. So please find attached my application for this position. Right? Sometimes you could say as posted on this website, on this date, something like that, right? But you say this is my application for that job. Okay, that's the purpose. So that's pretty straightforward. So that's number 3. Now we get into more of a subjective area where, we're going beyond the basics of the mechanical things you need into, shall we say, a more artistic kind of area where you're trying to sell yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, what ends up happening is your resume and any other document or information you've sent them gets put next to your cover letter, and then all of that is used to assess you as a candidate to answer the question, should they bring you in for an interview, right? So that's the issue. Your cover letter is being put side by side with your application as part of the material that they use to assess you. So in that sense, it's every bit as important as your resume or any forms you filled out or anything else you've submitted to them for consideration. And I see that we have a super chat from Tammy for 20 smackaroos. Thank you very much, Tammy. Tammy says, Bill, I'm happy to report that I accepted a job offer yesterday. Thank you for being a wonderful resource during my job shopping journey. Well, that's great to hear, Tammy. Congratulations. You've earned every bit of this, and it must feel very gratifying for you to have that outcome. So way to go. Now, if you've already signed your offer and you've already started, great. If you haven't yet started, okay, just make sure that if you have accepted an offer, that it's gone in and they've approved it and they've agreed to it. And, make sure you get all that down before you give your notice if you're currently working right now. That's my blanket advice to everybody, right? So way to go. And thank you for letting me know. And thank you for the super chat. That's very magnanimous of you. Okay, so that's great. Now, getting back to our cover letter, we've talked about, I'm giving you 7 things. We've talked about the first 3 that you should have in your cover letter. Okay, the date's going to be in there. Your greeting's going to be in there. You have to explain that you're applying for the specific position, the specific job. That should obviously be in there, right? Okay. As I said, now we get into the area where it's more subjective, what you put in a cover letter, okay? Now, this is my particular recommendation. I recommend, as item number 4, that you include a short phrase, not necessarily an entire sentence. You could. I wouldn't turn this into a paragraph, you could have it as a sentence, or preferably even less than a sentence, a phrase about your interest in the position. Okay? So if you've said that this is your application for this particular job as posted here, okay? You could say something like, this job is perfect for me because I seem to have everything you're looking for, something like that. Or this is a really exciting opportunity for me because I live very, very close to your location, or something like that, right? So some phrase, or maybe even a sentence, expressing your interest in the position, okay? Instead of having it be robotic and mechanical, like, this is me, I'm applying for this job, goodbye. Like, you put a bit of, warmth in there, put a bit of character, okay? And that also helps with, if there's an emotional side to this or a humanistic side to this, it helps with that stuff too, okay? So that's item number 4. Now, item number 5, something that I recommend that everyone does this, okay, is, you see, if you were to write a very long-winded cover letter, like you've got multiple paragraphs and it's very dense, text, chances are people are not going to read that. Excuse me. I am under the weather, actually. So I just thought I would share that with you. You can do absolutely nothing with that information. I specialize in information like that. But no. So if you have a long cover letter, you go into all kinds of non-essential things that they're not actively looking for, right? They're probably not going to read beyond that, right? They get the point. You're applying for this job. Great, right? You go into the pile with all the others. So what I recommend for item number 5 is you include a very brief list, like in point form, of how you meet the requirements that they've stated in the job posting that they said they're looking for. Okay? The reality is, and a lot of recruiters will tell you this, they get inundated with a ton of job applications from people who are completely not suitable for the role. For example, they might have a job that says, looking for someone with a degree in, like a bachelor degree in science, and they have 10 years experience, managing an operation, and they have specific skills in soil analysis, and, they also have skills in using this software. Okay, so 4 requirements. And you get applications for people that have none of the 4. They don't have a degree in science. They don't know anything about soil analysis. They've never run an operation before. And whatever the other thing was, they don't have that either. Okay, so this is the problem. Today, recruiters get inundated with lots of applications like that, right? So what's sometimes good, and what I recommend, is to include, like, right in your cover letter, in the second sentence or whatever we're up to now, it's like, I'm applying because I have, and then you have almost a point form list, a bachelor of science degree, extensive experience running an operation, previous skills in soil analysis, and I have 3 years experience being an administrator operating this software. Okay, so it's like they said they were looking for those 4 things. You're saying right up front in, like, your second sentence that they're reading of you, I've got this, 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 and this. Okay, that should be right up front, and that should hopefully alert them to the fact that you are a legitimate candidate for this. So they will take your application seriously. That's the reason why we're including this. Okay? So I would not include stuff they haven't asked for. They haven't said we're looking for this. I wouldn't include things that you think are good for it, but they haven't said they're looking for it. I would feed their requirements back to them. Okay? Especially the things that you have outright. Okay? There's no question you have a Bachelor of Science degree. So you say that, I have a Bachelor of Science. and I have this. Maybe, using that software is not so clear, of it. You could say, I'm fully capable of using software and have used very similar software for years, something like that. But the point is, you're trying to convince them that you are a legitimate candidate without getting them to read tons of text in paragraphs. Just bam, 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 bam. Very quickly, I'm legit. Okay, that's what I recommend. Number 6, I would end with the phrase, please find attached my resume or application or whatever you have, references, whatever you're sending. If you have any questions or require anything further from me, please don't hesitate to ask. Something like that. Okay? Or don't hesitate to let me know, something of that nature. And then say, I look forward to hearing from you. Because it's polite and it's warm. Okay? Prevents it from being a little too clinical, but doesn't take up much space or time. Okay, so once again, number 6, I would end with the phrase, please find attached my resume, application, references, whatever you're sending. Okay? If you have any questions or require anything else, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you very much. I look forward to speaking with you. Something like that. Okay? So that's number 6. And then finally, number 7, you include your full name and contact information, right? So if this is in the form of an email, your email signature, if you have a signature for your email where it automatically puts your name and, your tagline and, any contact information like your phone number, email address, website, LinkedIn, social networking, if that will be sufficient, right? And that's what I believe you should include in a cover letter by default. Now, if they've requested any additional specific thing, then yes, you would include that too. So if they say, we want, please include in your cover letter 10 points for why you feel you're the right fit for this job or something. Incidentally, those 10 points would be the 10 qualifications that they've said that they're looking for. If they've mentioned 10 things in their job description, right, where they describe the job and they said, we're looking for someone who's got this. This is nice to have. This is nice to have. Some experience with that would be good. Something like that, right? Those are your 10 things. Why should we take your application seriously? Don't give them things that you think are good. Give them things that they've said they think are good. That's the key, right? Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. My chat is doing weird things. Once again, if you have questions, get in the chat because this is primarily a live Q&A, so I can answer questions in real time. That's what I'm here to do. Okay? So that's my recommendation. Now, I said at the beginning of this stream here that I would talk about ChatGPT. Can you use ChatGPT? Of course you can. ChatGPT is a fantastic tool. It's a tool. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it is a very useful tool. And yes, you can certainly use ChatGPT. Now, the problem is that this is just my opinion now. I found that ChatGPT, although it's incredibly useful for a lot of mechanical type tasks, when it comes to creativity or real, brilliance, generally it doesn't do a great job with that. So if you're looking for it to write you an incredibly powerful cover letter, I wouldn't expect it to really be able to do that. It would give you a very good generic cover letter, right? And I feel it's only really needed if they've made all kinds of requests of you of specific things they want to see in your cover letter. They've said, summarize your life, your career experience for us, explain, what your working relationship is with bosses and coworkers and subordinates and customers. And, if they've given you a bunch of wants, wills, and needs for your cover letter, you have to go into detail about. I would use it as a template if you don't know where to start, I would say like, okay, go to ChatGPT, open the prompt and say, can you help me write a cover letter that has to include this? Give me several examples, something like that. Or here is the text of my resume. Can you help turn that into a cover letter? Or better yet, here is the text of the job posting. You paste the text into ChatGPT, maybe between quotes, and then say, could you help write me a cover letter that includes the thing that they said, whatever it was, like your life experience or, why you think you're compatible for this job or, whatever specific thing they asked. You can certainly use it as a template. I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't switch your brain completely off and just like get generic text out of ChatGPT and paste it blindly into your document that you sent. I wouldn't do that. I'd scrutinize everything yourself. It's kind of a pain. It slows things down, but there's been a lot of problems with just taking text straight from ChatGPT and just pasting it in. And they've actively done things now to ensure that if you're doing that, it backfires. Like they'll put the word vampire somewhere in the job posting. So if you took the job posting and pasted it into ChatGPT and said, here's the text of the job posting, write me a killer cover letter that, will kick ass and will, position me to be the standout candidate for everything you're looking for. The ChatGPT will take the text, which has the word vampire somewhere included into it, and spit out like a generic cover letter that has the word vampire in it. I'm also a fully qualified and practicing vampire, is my selling point, right? And if you just blindly take this and paste it into your document and send it off to them without even reading it, they see that in there, they go, I just did a text search for the word vampire. It shows up. Clearly, this is like AI generated content you're sending me, so no dice, and they reject you, right? So always read whatever you're submitting. Ryan says, I found ChatGPT is a great use as a first draft. After that, I'm able to use my own experiences for what they're asking for in the role. Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, it's a tool. That's one way to use it. You could get it to write the first draft. Another option is not to let it sort of write the first draft, but you basically think of an outline of what you would have in your cover letter. So you don't let ChatGPT decide what types of content go in there. You think like, okay, I need to mention this, and then I need to mention this, and then I need to mention that, right? So you're writing an outline, but instead of submitting like something in point form, which is what I've just sort of done live here, you get ChatGPT to flesh it out, to turn it into sentences and paragraphs and kind of flesh it out a bit, right? So that's another way. I mean, there's many different ways of using this tool. It's an incredibly useful tool, and different people have and do use it in different ways. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's like only one right way to use it. But if you're finding success using that method, sure, absolutely nothing wrong with it.